Hey guys, Keith again with Bulletproof RC, and I'm back with you again to share an update on the SC10b buggy from Team Associated. Um, really enjoying this buggy so far. I mentioned in a previous video that I was running JConcepts Scorpio tires. I actually called them Scorpions in the previous video. I apologize for that, guys. I've had these tires for a year or so, and anyway, when I was deciding which tires to use for this buggy, I just didn't do my research and didn't pay attention to the letters on the side of the tire. But they are Scorpios, super soft compound. Great tire overall, very happy with the performance. The only thing I didn't like is the SCT width on all four corners of the buggy. In real life, these buggies use narrow tires on the front and wide tires on the rear. So anyway, with that in mind, I went on JConcepts website and happened to notice that they actually make a front tire and wheel specifically for this buggy. These are, see if I can remember what the name of the tires are. They are soft compound rips. I think that's the name of them. Yeah, that's it, rips. And hold on, I'll give you the part number. There's your part number, guys. And they are specific for the SC10b. And they also make specific a front wheel in the hazard format for the SC10b. And that mates up great. There's the part number with this tire. And I think it looks pretty good. It's actually got the narrow width. They are just a rib pattern. That's all you need for two-wheel drive for the front end of a two-wheel drive. And they are soft compound. They feel like super soft, similar to the Scorpios, but they're dirty for a reason. I've tried them already, and they handle great. These even increase the turning radius of this buggy, which is already insane. And I had to actually dial back the trim a little bit, or the endpoint trim, should I say, just because this thing had so much oversteer with these tires. I mean, I guess I didn't have to if you just use precision with your controller, but this buggy handles amazing. And it really does, especially with these tires. I'd heard that the front tires that are stock on the SC10b were hard, and that they're less than desirable to use on the front end. These are great, guys. And again, that's with the hazard wheels. I love the Scorpio so much that I purchased another set. And they make rear tires for the SC10, and they would work on this SC10b as long as you choose the RS version that has the 12mm hex. But I chose the /4x4 offset just because I like the offset that I was using with the other tires that I mentioned, and the ones that I showed you before. These are actually for a /4x4. I like the rear offset, so I just went ahead and went with those. So anyway, great combination, great grip. It makes the buggy handle amazing. And again, these are super soft. Here's your part numbers. Here's your part number on the /4x4 wheels. And again, that's the hazards. And here is the part number for the Scorpios. And again, those are super soft compound. Super grippy, guys. Super grippy. I don't know if anyone is using these for racing, but I don't know why not, because they are fantastic. Okay, a couple other upgrades, guys, to go over. I'd mentioned previously that I was using this washer right here. It's just a standard little, I don't know the size, but it's a washer from the hardware store. Because when I used the JConcept tires and wheels before, I tightened down the nut on the rear axle, and as you can see, the threads stop. And unfortunately, the thread stopped a little shy of being able to tighten those wheels down. So I was using these washers. Well, come to find out, Associated actually intends for you to use a wheel spacer in the rear of this type platform, and they make nice anodized blue aluminum spacers. And I've test fitted all of them and with these tires and wheels, and they work great. The nuts and axles are all perfect length for these to line up. So you may keep that in mind if you choose to use aftermarket wheels on your SC10b. Might want to pick up a set of those. They were super cheap and super nice. Lastly, I mentioned that I was running that 3300 Dynamite motor on 2S using a 21 tooth pinion with no heat issues at all, but I'm planning on trying 3S out on this guy, so I decided to pick up a cooling fan from Intigi. I've had one of these before on my Losi XXX SCB. Basically, it just clips on to the motor and cools the end bell. It's perfect size and fit to fit in the back of a buggy or a short course truck, a two-wheel drive, and it just clips on there and cools the end of the motor. Now, what I do remember about this, though, they call it a high efficiency cooling fan, and I guess they call it that because it doesn't really move a lot of air. So anyway, I may change the fan out on this heatsink to one of the Yay Racing Tornado fans I mentioned in one of my Yeti videos. Those fans are amazing, and they move a lot more air than this Intigi fan. Anyway, I'm going to install that up. Also got a blue servo horn. I had several servo horns on hand. I thought I had one for this buggy when I outfitted it the first time, but when I went to use a horn that I had on hand, the offset didn't work for this particular vehicle. It was rubbing up against the bulkhead, so I needed one with a smaller offset. So anyway, I picked that up and installed that. I mentioned before I was going to wire up some LEDs, and there they are. I'm going to get those installed on this run. And I'm not sure these are going to work, guys. When I ordered them, they are actually for an SC10 4x4. And they're just the shock shaft guards from RPM. There's your part number up top. And they just basically replace the lower shock retainer, and they actually are just a guard for the springs and keeping a little bit of dust and mud off of your shock shafts. But I'm not sure they're going to work with this combination because a couple of reasons. I'm using big bore shocks, and as I mentioned before, this the front A-arms on this buggy have a drop down, and the shock retainers on the big bores are actually quite, they have a large offset. I'm not sure if you can see that, and these do not appear to have as large of an offset, so those shock guards may get down in that A-arm crevice and cause problems. I don't know. There may be clearance, there may not be. We'll just have to see. And I also mentioned before that since I was using the titanium links on this guy, turnbuckles, sorry. I've also picked up some rod ends from RPM. These are the blue long shank rod ends, and they're supposed to be quite durable, so I'm going to install those. There's your part number, guys. Lastly, I have been using carbon fiber vinyl automotive grade on a lot of my rigs. I've shown it on a few of my rigs that I just buy a big roll of it on eBay and cut it to size and put it on chassis, and it just kind of protects the bottom of the chassis. And when your carbon fiber vinyl gets a few scratches on it or whatever, you can pull it off and put a new piece on. Once you've cut the first piece, you can peel it off and use the used scratched up piece as a template to cut your new one. And that's worked well for me to keep a lot of chassis looking good over time. But I just happened to see this guy on eBay, and it's supposed to be triple laminated, so it feels super thick. So it was already pre-cut, and I got it for a good price. So I figured I'll buy this, put it on the car, and once I've damaged the carbon fiber vinyl over time, I'll peel it off and use this as a template to cut future pieces of carbon fiber vinyl to protect the underside. But anyway, this was super cheap and nice, but since I've got a roll of it, I will, when I damage this, I will just use that. Anyway guys, I'm going to get to wrenching, and I'll come back with you in a minute to show you everything installed. Guys, the shock guards from RPM aren't going to work. As you can see, the factory big bore spring retainer on the right, the RPM shock guard on the left. As you can see, the big bores are just too big, so these shock guards are going to have to be used on a different project. But I think they'll fit on the Vitera shock, so no worries. Motor fan's not going to work either, guys. The way this clips in there and the way I've currently got the motor geared, the motor is pushed all the way back to the rear guard of the motor, and this actually has to clip around the motor. So unless I gear it down, the motor fan is not usable on this car. It's all good. I may use this down the road and gear it down to 18 tooth on 3S, or I may try this on another project as well. But the fan quality's there, just not working for this application on 2S. Okay guys, got the parts installed. Everything went together fantastic. RPM rod ends have been installed, and hopefully they'll be worthwhile. They're supposed to stay secured onto the ball ends without popping loose, and the long shank version is supposed to add rigidity to the turnbuckle. But that's 6 turnbuckles and 12 rod ends that had to be changed out, so there's no quick way to do that. As mentioned before, I put the aluminum blue anodized servo horn in there, and just made sense to do that since I upgraded the bell crank system to aluminum. Next, installed the carbon fiber vinyl on the bottom portion of the vehicle's chassis protector. Once again, purchased this off of eBay from a seller. It was pre-cut. It was a perfect fit and finish with all the screw holes cut out, so that way you can wrench on the car without taking the vinyl off. Even covers the rear portion. This was actually listed as a SC10 chassis protector, so it had the bumper portion was actually for an SC10, so I didn't use that. It was not specific to this one, but I figure this gets roughed up, I'll just replace it. And lastly, I did wire in the LEDs. The harness, it went up to the front and wired into the light buckets, and then of course the rear portion. I'm going to pause the video, put the body on, and I'll show you the LEDs in action. Okay guys, here it is with the functional LEDs. The front lights are quite bright. Those are 12 volt LEDs. As you can see, the rear lights are functional as well. And that's the stance of the vehicle with the tires. I think it all turned out quite well. That'll conclude this video, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and have a good day.